to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. On this 25th day here of July, we are getting about 2 days into NFL training camps. Got Carlos Bad New Yorker Chavez back behind stage. Going to ask him about the Mets sweeping the Yankees first time in 11 years. They've actually won the 4-game set in the Subway Series. Interested to see what a turnaround there. Mets are now 5 games above 500. They were dreadful about 6 weeks ago, and the Yankees seem to be going in the other direction. So we'll get into that. Plus this week's biggest stories that I've been talking about all week there. The Caitlin Clark story, the storylines that came out of the Giants, episode 4 of Hard Knocks and more here. Of course, the new NBA Amazon store and whatnot. But stand by. Let's take our first and only break and have a few quick announcements there. And we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports. Thanks.
Here we go. Hey, man, little bit of delay there. I had some problems same time yesterday in the wide world of the internet. I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me, Chief?
I got you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me now? Good.
Happy Thursday.
Yes. I wanted to open up and ask you, you've been following the Mets, Yankees pretty closely. First sweep of the Mets over the Yankees in 11 years since they started this back in 97 with the Subway Series. What's your thoughts on that? Last game was 12-2 Mets, right? What's up, Chad?
Yeah, they also had a score like that last in Citi Field as well. This year, the Yankees playing the Mets. It's a good thing. It's something different for the Mets. Mets fans are all excited. I personally, as much as I like both teams, I wanted to see a closer game, more of a fight from the Yankees in the series where they played the Mets. It's the best team in baseball, right? They're paying the most money to their players, and you have those two guys that should have been knocking out runs, in Soto and in Judge. They should have been knocking out home runs left and right, and they couldn't. And then a testament to the Mets as their manager, their GM, and their team come together, right? Building up some excitement here in New York for New York baseball. So, I'm okay with what's going on. I just wanted to see more of a fight. It's a local rivalry. People talk it up and people talk about their team. And if it's one time to celebrate and see the rivalry at its best, it's a Subway Series. But, good job Mets and poor job the Yankees, right? I think we have to give credit to the Mets management as far as knowing that what the kryptonite of the Yankees and then also the rest of the league is taking notice of how to beat the Yankees. They have like the second worst losing record in June, next to the first losing record in June, which would be the White Sox, right? So
wow,
the Chicago White Sox. So that's not a good list to be on. And you're spending millions of dollars for some of these players, and they're not playing up to the capacity or the potential. And you want to see that from a fan point of view. You want to see that from a team point of view. And you want to get your money's worth, right? You want to get that value, and that's not happening. And you can't just go out there and be like, oh, blame the manager. And because the players have to go on the field and play.
Yeah.
Right? If you're
I think he's the only one to eat between him and the middle relief, right? I mean,
I've said this, and even on the podcast, I was, I looked at the team. I feel like the Yankees and Mets teams are similar, that they have a lot of young players coming up. The Yankees are just kind of locked in with some of these terrible contracts that they get themselves in. Like the LeMahieu contract that they did a few years back is starting to wiggle its head in. They had the Rizzo contract is starting to affect them. So all these things that the Yankees have done to try to get better is starting to backfire on them. And that's what happens when you do those long contracts. And it's not good for the team.
I haven't found one that's really paid off. Those 10-year contracts are
right. And they got somebody that's older now that's gotten hurt, and it's affecting him not being. And Stanton, they have Stanton on the lineup. He's not even in there to give you some pop, right? If he's not on the field playing, he's not even there to give you pop, right? Because if anything, he can hit, and so you're kind of stuck there. And then you got. I feel like you have a lot of players out of position. He didn't play yesterday, and I think he should have. I think they have Nestor Cortez as a starting pitcher, and I feel like he's a middle relief man. I've always stated that. I've always been behind that. And had he came after Cole last night, the Yankees would have. I'm sure the Yankees would have had an opportunity, and that game would have been closer. But they have him as a starter, and I feel like he can only pitch 3 or 4 innings, like really great, and then he's like a good or mediocre pitcher after 3 innings. So, those kind of things, and it's not a general manager thing, and it's not it's not.
But don't you think he'll probably be there's still only 2 games out of first place.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's not a.
That's how good they were playing in April and May.
Right. So and then
maybe they'll bounce back still.
Yeah, you compare that to the Mets, who've been just playing way better in the month of June and the end of May. I mean, so look, if you don't use your players to the best of their abilities and their talents, no matter what you're paying them, or if they're injured and they can't play, then that's what it is. And it's baseball, man. And I've said this, it's a marathon, and some people get highs and then some people get lows. So I expect the Yankees to maybe get the last playoff spot in American League, and I expect the Mets same thing, to get the second to last playoff spot.
They're one game outside of Atlanta as far as that second start in the East. I mean, so they were horrible early on, and now they're 5 games above 500.
But it only takes 5 to 6 games to start getting in the role and start getting into the rhythm. And I think, and I'm going to say this on one of the podcasts that I work on with the forkballs, like I feel like that the Mets, when they got JD Martinez, but when they picked up Iglesias, and those are 2 older guys that have been all-stars at one point in their career, 2 older guys that have been there. They kind of brought a little bit of that fight that you are as an older player. Yeah, and I'm gonna reference that in another sport, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. But and I'm always like, this is a young man's game. Let the young boys.
I told you it's good to mix some vets in there sometimes.
Sometimes, right? And I feel like it only works if you have commitment from the upper level management about. And if you have these guys who are older doing their part and they're actually doing good or better than mediocre, right? You can't have an older guy playing mediocre or terrible baseball.
Yeah.
Right? And another thing too is like, and this is should be an eye-opening situation. Stop paying these baseball players for what they've done, and start paying them for what they can do.
I've been saying that for years,
and so
in the NBA as well.
Yeah, I mean, it just you know, and then like you can't just be like, oh, well, he's an all-star, won a World Series 3 years ago. Yeah, okay, so a lot of guys on that team who won are not going to see a World Series the rest of their life, right? It's
Yeah.
I think it's like
Got to project forward, not look behind.
right, and I feel like it's like from a World Series, and once you actually attend the World Series and you play and you win, there's like a 99% probability of you not ever returning back to the World Series. Like it's so high. It's almost like it's almost like trying to win the lottery. It's crazy. So
yeah, that's interesting. Okay. All right. Appreciate your heads up with the baseball. We don't do too much on that, but I thought it was a great story. I mean, yeah, the Mets going one way, Yankees going the other, but they're both still technically in this thing. But the real fun stuff here, Hard Knocks episode 4.
Jeez.
It gets better every week, if you ask me, as far as fan insight. And I don't know if you I don't know how much of the show you watched yesterday. And I'll tell everybody, I'm having problems getting communication through Facebook. Go figure. But if you go on the YouTube app, I can always say Chad's on the YouTube. We've seen him say hello. But anyways.
What up, Chad?
Yeah. So what's your thoughts about all those picks that were offered to New England? We were pretty high on Michael Penix, who went 8th to Atlanta eventually. And we know that the Giants had the 6th pick, and they wanted to trade up to 3. But if you're the Patriots, you get the Giants' first-round pick, their second-round pick, and, of course, the second-round pick and the first for next year with the Patriots with all their holes. And you could possibly get a Michael Penix at 6. What do you think about that from the Patriots standpoint, and just staying put and taking Drake May at 3 instead?
Yeah, I found it interesting when they said that and when they've done something like that. But again, you're the Patriots are losing the quarterback game. Once Tom Brady left New England, they become non-existent. They become and people and everybody's like, oh well, you know, this guy's gonna do it, or this guy's gonna come up and do it. And unfortunately, when you lose a legend, when you lose like the name on the back of the jersey that sells tickets, the most jerseys, you're losing money. You're hemorrhaging. You're trying to go out and find the next big thing, and but you can't be you can't just be one of those people that is like what's that word? Desperate, right? And I feel like the Patriots did a good thing in trying not to be desperate and just go for the big trade. Although even with Brady on the team, they probably would have done something like that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, right? Because they like having a depth, and they like being able to see if we get 10 guys coming up that are new to the roster, you're going to keep at least 4 or 5 of them, right? And so they're not. I guess they're changing the culture, and they're changing things, but I hope it's for the good of the team in the long run, and not business, right? Because I think business wise, they're just going to put a pause, and they know they're not going to make that much money, in the other things that they used to, right? But they still got to put together a team in some kind of winning culture to bring it back. I feel like the move with the coaching staff, I feel like that was good. That was needed. I keep saying on these shows that Belichick, it don't matter how much he's won, he ain't winning. He should have they should have stopped 4 or 5 seasons ago, making him head coach and even put him up in upstairs somewhere in management, right? I mean, you can't do them both.
Yeah, he's not succeeding doing both management. Colin Cowherd brought this up over the past few months. Is the guy that was running the Patriots personnel departments now with Houston, and now the Houston's hitting all kinds of home runs. C.J. Stroud and everybody, Tank Dell, players like that, and the Patriots are rolling duds here.
Right.
It was Bill Belichick taking over in January when these guys have been scouting these players for years, or particularly going back to the last season, and he was doing too much. He got too much power, man. Maybe he'll see this with this year has taken off, and he's dating that 29-year-old.
Yeah. Well, here's Robert, even if this guy goes to the Texans and he's done all this stuff and they've improved, are they a Super Bowl team? Right? Like,
well, I mean,
I say that,
yes.
and I say that I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, and I'm not saying that the Texans.
I think they're favored to win the South, and if
yeah,
you're
but
to get in.
being favored and being a champion team, two different things, man. They're just two different things. And right now,
you don't think Houston's a good team? They went to the playoffs last year.
Okay, there's a lot. The Giants went to the playoffs 2 years ago. I mean, look, it's not playoff or bust; it's championship or bust. And I think that a lot of owners now are trying to win and get a championship through buying and getting high-rated quarterbacks. And that just because you got a high-rated quarterback, it doesn't win you championship, right? Chargers paid out; they ain't in the championship run. Cincinnati paid out. They made it a Super Bowl, but they ain't got no championship. So, like, you know, you could pay all day long, but you can't pay for a championship like that. Like your team has to be balanced and your defense has to be there to support the payout that you're going to be paying for these quarterbacks that you guys are all looking to get, to all sell tickets, to get the fans in the seat, and that just sometimes you fall short. Look at this Goff trade that happened. Everybody, Goff this, and he went to Super Bowl. Yeah, but that defense is what took him to a Super Bowl in LA, and now he's in Detroit, and I don't
NFC Championship game. I think they'll go this year. So
yeah, that's another team. Same thing.
Only time will tell. There,
you're going to pay for a guy like Goff, who's pretty much a mediocre quarterback because he can't run away from nothing. He's just a standing pocket quarterback. That's all he is with an arm and a cannon. And he's got great receivers and he's got a great running back. But he got to get out the way. They got a couple new old linemen, but he still got to run out of the way not to get hit. And he don't have that in him. And in the third and the fourth quarter, he makes silly mistakes. Like he's flopping around the ball, throwing it backwards, and like, come on.
I got you, man.
But anyway, going back to the
you done went on Detroit talking radio here. Okay, now, of course, I can put you on our Detroit guys. I can hook you up. I've been messing with 2 Detroit guys here lately and going on their shows. But anyways, did you catch you did get a chance to watch the whole episode, right?
Yeah, and I'm just like
John Mara. Did you catch that part of him talking about 2004? And he did not want to really give up a lot. I think he was hinting they had the number 4 pick back in them days.
Right.
Don't you think that possibly they could have still won those Super Bowls if they would have got Roethlisberger at 4 and not given up those additional picks, a 3rd round and a 1st round in 2005, instead of taking Eli? Could you see a Kaufman and Roethlisberger working out?
Yeah, I mean, but I think they probably would have made maybe one extra playoff. They understand that the 2 Super Bowls that the Giants have, even though you have Eli Manning, they didn't have proficient offenses at all. Their defenses were putting them in situations, and they were able to get scoring because they had good defenses. And there was like 3 or 4 games in a row that the offense didn't really score more than 14 points. And if it wasn't for the defense, they wouldn't even reach 21 points in the first Super Bowl. Team. So
7.
So it doesn't. Again, these guys are thinking. They're always going to say this, and they're thinking quarterback, but they're not thinking just quarterback. They're thinking about the amount of money that they can make on trying to get a top 10 quarterback on the team, right? Because they're gonna if they make.
You think Roethlisberger? I think he would have won those Super Bowls.
No, I don't think.
I think Roethlisberger kind of got a little what's the word? He had so much success early with Pittsburgh that it took the edge off of him. And then Tomlin's a much more lighter coach than a Cowher. Remember, Cowher retired after they got that. I mean, they did go in and win with Tomlin too, obviously.
Right.
But you could tell he got more and more complacent as the years went along, in my opinion.
I think what happened with that Pittsburgh team was that they moved off of the bus Jerome Bettis too late, and then they became wide receiver happy. Santonio Holmes, Brown. they had those.
Plexico was still on that team.
Yeah, and so, but I think I think it was too. Their defense has always been competitive, and it's just like I think for the Pittsburgh teams, once they moved off of the older guys like what's his name? I can't remember his name now. Hines
Ward,
and Jerome Bettis. It was better for them in a sense where you challenge Ben Roethlisberger to be a better quarterback, to make your other teammates who are not Hines Ward and Jerome Bettis better on offense, right?
Yeah.
So for that reason alone, I don't think that those Pittsburgh Steelers teams, they probably would have been in the playoffs, but I don't know if they've been Super Bowl caliber. Those defenses, a couple years there were actually, but other than that, they
didn't have Plexico. They had Antoine Randall, Hines Ward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought my bad with that. I guess Plexico already got moved on to. I think he already got moved on to the Giants.
The Giants
at that point, and I just think it was interesting the way the owner brought that up 20 years ago. I just think he kind of hinted that maybe Big Ben. We probably could have got Ben and been okay, but remember he mentioned. Of Eli playing in the bigger conference and Ben playing in Miami of Ohio. That's interesting the way people still use that, It's a good little flashback if you ask me. That was an interesting draft. Remember, Arch did not want Eli Manning going to the San Diego Chargers. Archie did.
Yeah, and he what Arch does for his kids, for his boys, and he knows he played for he was like the best quarterback on the worst team, for 10 years in a row. He knows football, and he knows, and he gave, true. And he's trying to help his kids not be what he was. You always want to put your kids in a better situation, always. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's all well and said now. I think Eli's a Hall of Famer. I think Roethlisberger's a Hall of Famer. Do you think that – I don't know if Rivers would have worked out with the Giants. I just don't – Rivers comes off as a guy who's never really elevated his game in the playoffs like an Eli, like a Roethlisberger. But that's just my opinion. He always come off as Charlie Checkdown or Antonio Gates friendly kind of guy.
Yeah, but
he was consistent though. But he never elevated his game for the moment like Eli did. No.
I think that San Diego Chargers, I'm not going to go against what the Giants are, but their offense was top rated always top rated. Their biggest issues were trying to hold off the leads, and their defensive, they lacked a little bit of defensive prowess on the back end. Because they had like Sean Merriman, and they had like a couple guys up front that can. O'Neal
Merriman was good.
Yeah, and so, but they couldn't hold off the leads, and even when they asked the kickers to make kicks that would win them games, if the games are close, they didn't do. So
they had a very conservative coach there.
Yeah, not only just conservative, but I feel like they lacked
Marty Schottenheimer. Oh
yeah,
God,
they had lacked defensive prowess, where the Giants had defensive prowess but lacked offensive like power. But so
that's a good point. Fair point. Moving on here, let's talk about, these running back contracts.
Woo.
I talked about Saquon's side of it through an interview on the Scoop podcast with the Donna Teresi Rossini from at The Athletic.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was looking at his salary at $12.5 million. And you compare them to guys like Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee Lamb, they're holding out for 30 plus. Justin Jefferson's at $34 million.
Right.
That's 3 times this guy's salary. I've been dogging out this guy for years. He's overdrafted. He was drafted number 2 overall. I thought he was over. That being said, a pass catching running back at $12.5 million, that's a bargain, if you're comparing it to these inflated wide receiver salaries. No,
the difference is that these kids that you mentioned, Ayuk, Jefferson,
AJ Brown, his own teammates making 30.
They've
now
been
with Philadelphia.
they've been going to the playoffs and they make a little bit of noise.
Yeah.
And when the running back don't make noise, you can't be like, oh, you look at the yardage per carry, you're looking at different things, how many touchdowns, you're looking at, can you catch out of the backfield? Can you block?
There's got to be dual threat. Yeah.
Right. And with wide receivers, you just have to catch the ball and make sure that they're making first downs. And it's not to say that one is better than the other, but, if you got a running back, like the running back that Montgomery compared to Saquon, you can't compare those two guys. They're not.
Yeah,
they're
just
not.
the high end guys, know.
Right. So
McCaffrey, Barkley. I think they're still pretty good deals if you get them in the right. Barkley could have a career year this year.
He could, but he has to stay healthy. The O-line has to work in unison to give an opportunity, and Hurts has to give him the rock, right? So
Hurts can't get greedy. That's what I'm coaching in the Hurts. If I'm in that offensive room there, and I know this guy, they're Keelan Moore loves to sling the rock downfield, and he got Dak Prescott picked off a lot calling those plays. They're going to have to check down. You've made this big move. You bring in a guy who is a Penn State guy, by the way. He's coming home. I mean, the Philadelphia move, I don't know why they made such a big deal about it with New York. This guy, better team, coming home. I mean, what else? It was a no-brainer for Barkley.
For him, yeah, but the worst situation right now is Sirianni. Are they going to keep him? They brought in a new management and coaching staff for him.
They got two coordinators, yes.
Yeah, the owners are not.
He's a little temperamental, to say the least.
So I feel like this is a year that they just need to put their face down in the book and just call plays and just try to get as many wins as possible and get into that playoff position and have the talent take over, have your players take over. This shouldn't be about coaching, man. This year, for what happened last year, and I know last year was last year, but you better keep it in the past because you can't just be expecting to win because you got Saquon now. You should be going out there, running all over the place, throwing the rock all over the place, and scoring 30-plus points every game. Look, San Francisco did it.
They should be able to at ease.
Yeah, and when they got that 3 or 4 losses in a row, it affected them confidence-wise, and and then they end up going into the playoffs. You can't lose like that. You got to just win as much as possible. And
he's technically on the hot seat.
Yes.
Super Bowl a couple years ago, because some of the thinking is maybe it was more about the coordinator now, who's now the head coach of the Colts, Shane Steichen. So it's an interesting story. I still think they'll probably win the East, but if they don't, and they don't have a bunch of injuries, it's going to be on him. And I'm reading maybe they would be interested in a Bill Belichick.
I can't see Bill Belichick in Philadelphia for the life of me, but why would you go backwards though? Like, Belichick's not picked up by anybody for a reason.
Because they're in win now mode. And Belichick wants to win that Super Bowl without Brady. It's like Jerry Jones, 81 years old. He still wants to win without Jimmy.
Man, you can want a Corvette and have Corvette money, but if you don't have a license to drive a Corvette, man,
that's funny.
And this
I knew he was going to say that.
It's not about ageism, but again, like, he put himself in a terrible situation.
He's dating this young girl. He's found the fountain of youth.
Yeah, he needs to move on to something else. He can stay with the young girls and he can, do what he wants.
That's funny, man.
Football goes into different changes, and right now it's in a dynamic mode. It's about the air game, and I don't feel like Belichick has a defensive structure in his format, how he wants to play, to stop that. And that was a proven fact once Brady left, right?
There's some other coaches that can go after. I just think Belichick would be interesting. Cal Shanahan tried to hire him. I read that in the Pro Football Talk. I brought that up on this program. Give him that defense in San Francisco. Let him work it. And he didn't want to do it. I think he just wanted to take a year off and gather his thoughts. He's been going hard for 20 plus years as the head coach of New England, you know.
To be honest with you, Wade Phillips was more open-minded and more willing to be effective as a defensive coach and coordinator than I think the way Bill Belichick is compared. If you compare their character and you compare with the kind of people that they are, right? Oh, and no, this is nothing against Bill Belichick and what he's done and who he is, but if you don't have another person on the side of him that's able to balance him out,
yeah.
And I don't even think had he gone to the 49ers, that would have been something that will help him, because I don't feel like he's a coordinator material, man. Like,
he's a legendary coordinator.
Yeah, but not anymore
with those giant teams.
I could just see the San Francisco go backwards and be scoring like 14 points a game compared to scoring like 32, 30.
No, I mean Kyle Shanahan would run the offense. They would. I tell you what, I would change my prediction if he took over that team this year with Fred Warner and that defense. I would have to say, okay, yeah, the 49ers will probably get back to the Super Bowl, even after they lost the Super Bowl. Only team to do that was the Patriots since the salary cap got initiated in 1994. All that stuff with the Bills, that was before 94. You know,
right.
It was 90 to 93, those 4 straight that they lost. The only other team to do it was obviously the Patriots. They lost in 17 and won in 18 over the Browns. Anyways, just food for thought there. Hey, man, what do you think about Caitlin Clark making the big jump? Her, Angel Reese, winning the All-Star game over the Olympic team, them being in the All-Star game. Both of those girls, women, did not make the Olympic team,
right.
Beat the Olympic team. My thing about Clark is, like James Worthy said about Michael Jordan, man, this guy, I was better than him for about 2 weeks in North Carolina. And then I have to admit, this younger player surpassed me that fast. Clark is making those big jumps, man, as a pro.
Yeah, she's leading the league right now in assists.
Yes.
She's a pure basketball mind, pure just in the moment of the game. She knows how to handle the rock. So, but the thing is, there was a team with Jason Kidd and a couple other guys that beat the snot out of our 92 Barcelona Olympic squad. And then at the first two, I think it was like 2 or 3 games, they beat them by 10 points or more. I think it was like Jason Kidd and Antonio McDyess.
Was it some kind of scrimmage or something?
They're scrimmaging the best college basketball players. Even I think what's his name was there? Grant Hill was on that team. They were beating the snot out of them, and then there's like a documentary about that, Bobby Hurley and all that.
They beat
the
teams that had Jordan,
and so
Magic.
And so then
I'll have to look and clarify that. I have to fact check that. I do know that Nowinski was hooping up on Pippen in a scrimmage.
No,
I don't remember these guys. They won like the average of like 25-point wins in the actual.
So there was because they played like short-sided games and stuff. So so the team ended up being the dream team. Like I think it was a series of 3 or 4 back-to-back games. For like the first day, and then they came back the next day, and they just got the younger guys who were on the college team, and
they got smoked.
They got creamed. And so when I look at this thing about Caitlin Clark and Reese beating up on a team like the Olympic team that's made up of all these ladies, a couple of them playing their last
veterans,
are playing their last Olympic run. I mean, it is what it is. The most important thing that you take out of this is that they know what to expect if there's teams that are younger, right? So you can try to change and adjust to that, and you make sure you make those adjustments, because you're not as young and you can't do things that you thought you could do before.
I'm not as good as I once was, like Toby Keith said. What are your thoughts about this Amazon? Not this year, but next year, Amazon will be taking over instead of TNT. There's a potential lawsuit now.
Yeah.
They'll be taking over the NBA, and now Amazon's trying to get the TNT guys to commit. Barkley's talking about retiring after this year. A lawsuit because TNT supposedly with the NBA matched this offer, and the NBA went with Amazon anyways, Carlos. My thing about that is Pickles didn't like my stance, but Amazon, the NBA's looking at Amazon. You got that app on your phone. You can watch a game anywhere. I've been doing some traveling here lately, and I love having these apps here where I can just sit here and watch the games. You know, it's not all of them.
Right.
But what's your take about all that, man? NBA's really spread out, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, just let the fans have the opportunity to watch the games and at a fair market value price, right?
Yeah.
They're making it difficult with all these, fees and extra blackouts and this and that. It's just, just be, you're making money no matter what.
Yeah.
On the media, you don't have to make 400% off of what you paid, just to get your billions back. You're gonna make the money. Give access to people, and the more access you give to people, the more ratings you get, the more sales will go up. I don't understand the backwards thought and then the NFL they did that with the DirecTV, and now they're having issues.
Yeah, they have a major lawsuit.
Yeah,
it might get overturned, but still.
Yeah, and the thing is, and the problem is that as much as all these huge companies are trying to buy this media, a lot of these teams have their own broadcasting systems or broadcasting companies. Yeah. So they own the rights. So they're just doubling up on selling them the rights for the media and the content anyway. Yeah. And this business, it's a shrewd business, and it has a ripple effect. And whoever gets the contracts and agreements, nobody's going to be happy. The fans aren't going to be happy because they're going to still have to pay for the NBA package to get a game that they don't, like the Knicks are going to play Denver. I can only watch it on the Denver local network. I can't watch it here in New York because even though the Knicks are playing, they don't have the rights to that game, so they black it out or something ridiculous like that. Yeah, it's like, at the end, the little guys like us paying for these apps and paying for the content to be available to us. We're the ones that suffer. But there's one way to do this.
But what if there's a cable problem? Like, I used to live in another county, and I couldn't get NBA TV. In Wilson County, here in Davidson County, in Nashville, I got Xfinity. I could get NBA TV. Right. Now, I like the wager, and I was really big into fantasy a few years ago, basketball fantasy. But that's what you got these apps go with you, man, right?
Yeah, that's why you get the third-party apps that help you, like Fubo TV, Hulu, like all those other.
So you're bringing that edge into it.
Yeah. So and you still got to pay for that, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, that's going to happen to the NCAA too. Like, there's a SEC TV, but then you have to buy the ESPN for college to watch UT play other teams that are not big market teams. It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out once you get into the college football with all these bowl games and the extra playoff and everything. This could lead to something like some kind of SEC app or something.
With ESPN and what they did with the broadcasting, I thought it was a monopoly, and then then they had to add extra channels because they wanted to make a little bit more money. I don't know, it's crazy. This is
Chad says I'm getting a giant flip phone than maybe to watch sports. Well, all I know is I've got a smart TV. I've got these apps on my phone. I was really irritated when the NFL did this stuff with Peacock, But but then again, if you got a lot of baseball games like they do, and you got a lot of NBA games like there is, and back when I used to do security, man, I would have loved to be able to watch the game on my phone. Here in Nashville, I told this story yesterday, man, that I was at work one year while I was in school. And there was some stupid basketball game on. Belmont basketball, or somebody ridiculous like that on 104.5 The Zone out of Nashville, the radio station, right? Cumulus. And I'm at work, and I think it's like around New Year's. It's the night of the national championship game, Carlos. Florida and like Ohio State or something. I want to hear the big college football game. Well, these stupid radios, they putting that Belmont MTSU basketball game on. I'm sitting here at work. There's no TV. Now we're talking 18 years ago, 20 years ago.
Right.
This option, that sounds ludicrous now. I should have been able to open up the phone and watch the game, while I was working. Now I'm doing security. I'm watching the door. It's really boring. Nothing going on. It's second shift. I could not watch the national championship game. But with the way things are now, the way things have been going as of late, you can watch the NFL ticket on YouTube now, instead of having to do that crap with DirecTV. I think that's a good, that's like the positive side of it. I know a lot of this is just driven by greed, overseas, Amazon, but that's what they're thinking. That's why that they kind of, not less maybe TNT could get their own app, but it seems like that these, like an ESPN and stuff, there's lag time there. Unlike Netflix or an Amazon, there's no lag time there.
Right. No, but the thing is also, but TNT has the app. I've watched a lot of basketball games on TNT.
Okay. Have they gotten into their?
Yeah, it's on.
Have they gotten better with that?
Yeah, it's not, but it is. There's always a delay with that. Look, I mean, I'm here in New York, and whenever they black out games, it's so frustrating.
It is annoying, man.
I got to go onto radio stations to listen to baseball games, football games.
That's what Pickle says. Let's find Westwood 1. I said, if you can find it.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's on Odyssey. You got to get the Odyssey app.
Oh, yeah. Odyssey, I think I got a million apps on this thing, man.
It's on Odyssey, and then so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in New York, so it could be a different radio app for another part of the country. But I listen to baseball for the Yankee games. I have to listen to WFAN, and then for the baseball game for the Mets, I have to listen to CBS 880. And I feel like I'm still living in like the 80s, man. Like because of the blackouts. Like I changed, like you. I had a different provider.
Yeah,
they don't offer SNY, and I'm like, okay, and I can't get.
Can you use FanDuel up there in New York? I know a lot of states don't allow FanDuel.
Oh yeah, they've opened that up already.
Okay,
yeah.
It's New Jersey that don't have it. I don't think.
I think in New York, you can. There's I think at DraftKings one of those that you can only put certain type of bets in New York.
Okay.
Like I don't think
I couldn't use FanDuel in Florida when I was down there back in May. Scott Morganroth said, "No, you can." I said, "Listen, Scott, man, I was trying to check. I had the Knicks winning that game. I could not check the see what my thing paid off there. It wasn't legal there. The sports gambling, certain sports gambling, still not now here. You can do it here in Tennessee. Go figure.
Yeah,
I think New York was the others too. You're probably right.
I think it's prop betting that you can't do right now on the DraftKings or FanDuel, but
there,
yeah, here, but
here I do. I mean, that's wow.
You can do like straight out bets, but I don't think you can do like the prop betting.
Yeah, you can prop bet here. See, that's
I don't get
interesting.
I use FanDuel for like fantasy league. One time that I was with a few people that I worked with in the past.
Okay, you can use their I'll have their fan. It's a different app too.
Right. Yeah, it is. And so, but gambling, like odds and things like that, I'm like, I kind of stay away from them, man. I don't. It's not that I don't trust myself. I just, long story, but I'd rather just not.
To be honest, like the kind of guy you get all jacked up with it.
No, it's kind of hard to enjoy the game when you're gambling.
Speaking of the Knicks, by the way, we had some extra time. Tom Thibodeau
got a 3-year extended
through 27-28. I know that's your favorite guy. Well, they got Brunson extended.
Oh my God, it's
a family affair.
I don't want to be negative. It just. Basketball is different now, and it just took him 2-3 seasons to get to where he's at now. And then now they're getting rid of all the young players because they're getting older players and through trades, so they're trading draft picks.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's it's going to be easy for him to transition.
I wonder why they did that. He still had some years left on his current contract, didn't he? I mean,
I don't know. If I was him, I would just have been okay with just figuring out things after the last time, because they've built a team around him. They still got Randall, who I feel like they should move, but they got a team around him now that will do what he says. That's not just about what he's doing, about what he coaching, not just listening to your coach. The style he plays is very overwhelming and very difficult. It's not easy at all for these guys to stay and focused, and and then there's injuries that come up because of that.
I mean that's my thing. I mean if they had all the injuries next year, like they've had last year because of the minutes, you would think they would want to move on from him, and get somebody to lighten the load a little bit. Instead, they extended him. I don't really know what the Knicks are. I like the group they got. Other than like you said, the center Hartenstein or whatever his name is that went over to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, Hartenstein. Yeah,
everything is money. Other than they should have kept him, and now Mitchell Robertson's banged up. They've got to get that other big squared away.
Yeah, Randall's more likely to get hurt again,
Randall,
than he is to be positive and positive piece on your team. I won't say that Randall sucks because he doesn't. He's a good player.
He's just a bad postseason player with this team.
He's a good player. He's had all-star caliber seasons here and there, but then he's not. There's no consistency because he's been hurt and all throughout all his career. So I feel like a player like Randall would be better on the Clippers or on the Pacers than he would be.
He might be a good fit with the Pacers,
than on the Knicks, and it's just because of the style. If you know what Randall can do, and you're sure that that's the guy you want, you're gonna give him the ball and you're gonna let him do what he does anywhere around the free throw line and towards the goal, right? But if you have him on the Knicks and you have him outside starting out the 3-point line, you and on top of that, he's not going to run back and forth with Brunson. He's not. Yeah,
they're a run and gun team. Yeah, he's more of a kind of a ball stopper there. Do you have anything else to plug, man?
I mean, just trying to finish up this podcast, organizing to do this the sweep that happened here in New York, to talk about that and the next few games coming up for the Mets. So you just started playing the Braves about an hour ago. It's just been busy on this end, trying to get everything organized. Trying to get some of these guests has been crazy. But maybe at the end of the season I'll have 2 or 3 guys, hopefully.
Yeah. Chad says, who can the Knicks trade for? Randall, you got to match salary.
Get some draft picks back. Get some 3rd or 4th or 5th round draft picks back. And get some picks
they don't have 5th round in the NBA.
Whatever. Just get some money and some draft picks, and that's it. What do you want? Yeah. If you're another team in the NBA, do you want Randall? And what are you willing to give for Randall? And the answer is no, you don't. Because if not, he would have been gone already. they tried to offload him last year before he got hurt, and nobody wanted him, right? Because
well, that's interesting. I wonder if they could do a trade deadline move with him. Maybe take a bad contract and buy it out. It depends on the owner's been real flexible here lately, but he did make a comment about a week ago that he loves Randall.
I know that's the problem. That's the
go work on the spear again.
It's like
I didn't know that he spent 3 years working on that spear in Vegas. Have you seen that thing?
Yeah,
state of the art.
I'm in like
maybe he needs to build another one so he could stop messing around with the Knicks. They've been doing good since he's staying out of things.
Yeah, well, he left the Rangers alone, and they almost went to a Stanley Cup. You were a player too short of getting that happening. But look, I mean, okay, you like who you like. If you're a fan and you're a fanboy, or you like somebody, you like them. But that doesn't mean that they're gonna fit where you're going. Like I don't want to sound dated and I don't want to sound mean, but when Carmelo Anthony came to the Knicks, half of New York was like, he coming home, baby. We're going to win a championship. And I'm like, you do understand what kind of player Carmelo Anthony is, right? Like,
right.
You
know what he said this week? He said, I would have never taken a big pay cut like Brunson. And I thought, you never won anything either.
Yeah, you never won anything either.
Yeah,
right? And he never won. Look, after Syracuse, and he
won the championship. Kudos to that national championship. But in the NBA, God, he was dreadful.
And then between him and LeBron, like, I won't ever take anything from him because he was a great player in Denver, and he was a good player here in New York. He was a great player here in New York. How many playoffs? We had 2 playoffs or something with Carmelo.
Yeah, that's true.
Like so, and it's not because he wasn't a good or could have been a great player. It's because the contract that handcuffed the Knicks to allow to build.
And they gave Denver a ton.
Yeah, so it's like, and then the way he left, the way he went out, it was like, but the thing is, the owner did the same thing with Marbury, did the same thing with who's this guy, Jason Kidd, the same thing that he was hoping to get what he used to, like what he knew about these players. But when you sign a player, you don't get the player that you watched last year or 2 seasons before. You get a player that you're going to have this year.
I always thought he was about 85% committed. LeBron's 100% committed to his body and his fitness. Not the same with Carmelo. The talent was there. Carmelo's like a Rasheed Wallace. Remember Rasheed Wallace?
Oh yeah.
I mean, really talented, but he just not quite.
He played on the Knicks too.
100%. I know he played with. I know he played with Portland, and he ended up winning with Detroit.
Yeah,
he won that year with those guys.
Yeah, I mean,
Brunson is 100% committed. And
I don't even think it's not really commitment, Robert. The guy had it. He got his points. He did things. The problem was that the team wasn't deep enough for a run. They were only 4 deep. They needed to be 9 or 10 deep, and
Knicks save money so they can use to get a nice fit. Yeah, and they got a big move left. It's just you just hope they make the right move.
I feel like you got to move on from Randall, no matter.
It is, Randall would be the one I would like to move off of. I would love for them who've got to Pascal Siakam. Or somebody like that.
Siakam's starting to peak, right? This is like he's 30 now.
Yeah, he's 29.
Yeah,
he would be the right guy to go. He really helped that Indiana team get over the hump there. If you really think about it, it's you hate to see a team like the Knicks get so close, and then the whole deck of cards fall down like Jenga. Remember that little Jenga game? Like they get everything stacked up, and then you pull one out, and the whole thing falls down. And that's usually their injuries.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, the one
not making that right trade deadline move.
I think you can't go in shooting threes at a clip of what they were shooting at 40%, and then be like, we're not going to shoot threes, or they don't. The 3-point shooters don't come through. I think when. You got to change it up. You got to do things. You got to adjust. And if anything, shoot the threes, but play smart also and get as many points as possible. the 3-point line.
Well, don't go Boston on me.
No,
Boston
because
was very fortunate this year.
because the Knicks came into the playoffs as one of the high percent three. DiVincenzo, Hart, those guys were shooting threes.
Yeah.
And when they were in the playoffs, you saw them go away from that because teams pushed them away from that. We're giving them open inside looks.
Yeah.
So, and Brunson's smart, so he's going to take the inside. Listen.
But that Golden State team, they got their inside game when they needed to. They got to play underneath a pick and roll underneath with the Draymond Green when they needed to. They got a big defensive stop when they were an underrated rebounding and defensive team.
Right.
If you go back and look at the stats of those teams that won championships, even though I didn't really care for their style of play, you got to call a spade a spade. They did win multiple championships.
Yeah, but you had two of the most prolific shooters at that time.
Yes.
Over 40 and 50% shooting, threes and twos, which was Curry and what's his name?
Iguodala also. He won one of
Iguodala
MVPs.
He got the MVP because he was the best player on the court.
Well, he's a really good all-around player.
Defense and offense, right? But what's his name?
Draymond was much younger then.
And Klay Thompson shooting whenever he's shooting, they're just. You can't defend three shooters. You can't defend three shooters. And what I mean by the three shooters, I meant like
shoot at that high clip. No,
right? Like you got Thompson, you got Curry, and then you got Iguodala inside game. So you have to stop at least one of those guys, right? So who do you stop? You stop Curry because he's the most prolific. But then who you leave open? Another good shooter in Thompson, and you leave the inside open for Iguodala. So.
And they alternated Bogut that first year of the championship.
Bogut,
and he was their big, but they could have played small ball.
Yeah, and Bogut, and people forget Bogut was a pretty decent shooter.
And he's a very good defender.
Yeah, so it's like,
very good defender.
He wasn't like a guy off the street just in street clothes, like playing center,
Yeah, that's true, man. All right, if you ain't got anything else to plug, folks, I'll see you next week, man. We'll get a little closer to the college game.
Yeah, enjoy the Olympics while they last.
Huh?
Enjoy the Olympics while they last.
Right. Anything you looking forward to in the Olympics? Is it just the basketball stuff?
Well, soccer team got defeated yesterday. You know what? I'm just hoping that there's a better transition for these people, the new generation coming in of American athletes, and I'm looking for that. Like there's so many athletes that are in their prime, like are a little bit past their prime now in this Olympics.
I'm curious what Simone Biles, if she could still play at the same level or gymnastics and whatever.
Just to see a transition and to see who these younger people are, that's a good thing, and support your country,
Does that start this weekend? The actual
today, right? Today's Thursday. Tonight. Tonight's the opening day ceremonies, but the games and some of the playoffs and some of the sports have started already yesterday. So
I'm glad Caitlin Clark's getting the break she much well deserves. She's been talking about it, and I'm thinking, I'm tired for you.
Yeah,
You've been doing the NCAA tournament, then she gets drafted like the next day. They have like 2 weeks to this training camp. It's not like the NBA where you have a month off, 2 months off, or the NFL. She's like, I'm exhausted. I kind of I'm looking forward to the break instead of going to the Olympics. So, I'm glad for her. I think she'll come back in the second half and play really well.
I hope she comes back in the second half. Maybe she'll stay on
have some rested legs and really take a
all
shot
the
at
bumps and bruises she got to recover from.
Woo! Yeah. Have a good night, man. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week here on the Real Sports Scope.